Yes, you guessed it, another video about HIMS and HERS, which are a publicly traded company on the stock market, which I have invested in, and they trade under the ticker symbol HIMS, HIMS, on the New York Stock Exchange. So in this video, I'm going to be giving a brief overview of what the company does and why I think it's a great opportunity to invest in. So what do they do? So HIMS and HERS are a telehealth company. They have an app on the App Store and they also have a website. They are categorized into 4 HIMS, which is personalized for males, and 4 HERS for females. And here are just some screenshots of what the app looks like. So you could track your medication, there's education, you speak to the doctor, and they're both kind of similar, both 4 HIMS and 4 HERS, but they have different products tailored to each gender. So how does it work? So download the app, or you go on the website, and you then pick a condition that you want to treat. And for that condition, you're connected with a doctor that specializes in that field. And if appropriate, the doctor will prescribe you medication. The medication is then shipped out to your door. And all this is included with a monthly membership fee, the same way you pay Spotify monthly, Netflix, insurance, etc. This works in a similar way. And what do they treat? So for men, they're treating things like erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, and they've recently expanded into cardiovascular health as well. For women, it's birth control, STDs, libido, dermatology, acne, anti-aging, and anxiety and depression, which have been a huge growth driver in their business. So as you can see, they're mostly targeting stigmatized conditions, and we're going to talk about this later on why this is the reason of why they're performing so well. As you can see, they are planning to expand into different categories as well. So one thing that management said they're going to expand into in early 2024 is weight management, which has a lot of hype around these days, especially with things like GLP-1 agonists. Also planning to expand into pain management, fertility, diabetes, insomnia, PTSD, substance abuse, eczema, rosacea, menopause, digestion, testosterone, prostate. And there are other categories potentially, but they're going to be expanding in the future. And this just gives you a bit of an idea of where the company is heading towards. So what brought HIMS to my attention? So I first came across HIMS in late 2020, so around 3 years ago. And it caught my attention because I'm a pharmacist and this is a telehealth company and I seem to understand everything about it. And when it comes to investing, I do have a checklist of things that I go through before investing in the company. So one, preferably I want it to be founder-led. So Andrew Dudum, he's a CEO and co-founder. And if you think about it logically, would you rather have a CEO that was hired and doesn't have much skin in the game, doesn't have much shares in the company, or would you rather have someone that actually was there when the company was created and it's like their little baby? They have a huge ownership of the company and they're incentivized to grow the company further. Even though the other CEO can do a good job, it would make sense to go with the founder. Number 2, it has a small market cap. So HIMS trades at around 1.3 billion market cap. And I'm a huge fan of Peter Lynch. He says if you want to get those multi-baggers, stocks that multiply your money like 5, 10, 20-fold, and go invest in companies that have a market cap of between 1 billion to 5 billion, because then there's more room for them to grow. Number 3, it has a large total addressable market. So HIMS are in the telehealth space, primary health, and there are a lot of people that suffer with ED, acne, hair loss, etc., menopause, all those different health conditions. There's a huge total addressable market. And HIMS, I would say they're actually creating market share, because there are people who have acne that don't really necessarily treat it because of the stigma associated with it. They're just like, oh, I'm going to leave it. Or even with ED, people suffer with ED and they don't bother treating it. But what HIMS is doing is they're destigmatizing these conditions, creating market share. So people who wouldn't usually treat it, it's more accessible to them, and yeah, they get to treat their conditions easily and efficiently. Next, a strong balance sheet. Warren Buffett says, rule number one of investing is don't lose money. So how do you lose money? How do you indefinitely lose money in the stock market if you invest in a company that eventually goes bankrupt? And what a strong balance sheet does is it reduces the likelihood of that. A strong balance sheet is basically a company that has more cash than debt, has more, what's the word I'm looking for? Cash than debt. What's the opposite of liabilities? Okay, I'm going to cut this part. Has more cash than debt. Next, a company that provides a good or service, which is a necessity. You never know with macroeconomics. A recession can come, things can get tough, inflation, people have less money. But if you're providing something that's a necessity, like medication, which you have to keep taking on a regular basis, you're still going to be paying for that regardless of what's going on in the economy. Number 6, recurring revenue. You want a business where you don't need to find new customers to maintain revenue. You want to have the same customers paying you monthly, and when new customers join, increases revenue. Number 7, high gross margin. So HIMS has a gross margin of 82%, which is absolutely insane. What that means is for every $100 they make in revenue, they're left with $82 to then spend on growing the company, which they are. High growth rate. Similar to their gross margins, that growth rate is around, recently, last quarter was around 82-83% year over year. And that's crazy. Anything above 20% growth year over year is considered a growth stock. Number 9, something within my circle of competence. When you're investing in a company, you need to understand the sector, because if the stock price goes up and down due to volatility, you have the knowledge to understand the business and be like, okay, I'm not going to panic sell, I'm going to keep buying. And I would say that's the main reason why people lose money in the market. They just follow what's hype. They invest into this AI, artificial intelligence, this hype stock, battery, electric vehicles, which they don't necessarily understand. Like Peter Lynch says this, someone that's a doctor will invest in the oil field, someone that's in the oil field will invest in the medical field. It's best to stick to the sector that you specialize in. Yeah, that's why in late 2020, I found HIMS, checked out with my checklist, and I started a position in HIMS. And I've been adding since then, so I've been an investor for 3 years. Next, why do I think HIMS or telehealth in general will do well? Why is telehealth the future? Well, traditional healthcare, how does it work? First of all, especially when it comes to stigmatized conditions, you need to build up the courage to go and speak to a doctor, book the appointment. And that takes, it's not easy, especially if you're suffering with something like depression, something like acne, ED. You don't really want to go call up a doctor, book an appointment, go in person, and then explain your problems to someone. Even though you may do it, it can be quite uncomfortable for most people. Second of all, finding an appointment, especially in the NHS. I live in the UK. Sometimes it could take a week, 2 weeks to book an appointment to see a doctor. If it's something that you're worrying about, waiting a week or two can be quite anxious. Number 3, waiting time for an appointment. So similar to finding an appointment, like I mentioned, you need to go there, wait for your turn, etc. And also, when you're going to see a GP or a general practitioner, the appointment is usually rushed, especially with sensitive conditions where you want to explain everything that is going on. It's hard to do in 15 minutes, and this could actually lead to misdiagnosis. If you're with a doctor 15 minutes and they've got a patient coming after you, they're just going to prescribe you something quickly to get you out the door. And this isn't something I'm just saying out of my own thoughts. I've had conversations with GPs in the UK. My brother-in-law is a doctor, both my uncles are doctors, and I have these conversations with them. And that's just how healthcare so much demand, and especially for free healthcare in the NHS, you're just in and out the door. You're not getting that personalised one-to-one care. Next thing, once you're prescribed something with traditional healthcare, you're given a prescription, or your prescription is sent to a pharmacy. You need to take time out of your day, especially if you're working like me. I'm working 12-hour shifts. Most people are working like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and pharmacies close. Most pharmacies close at 6 p.m. That's why my pharmacy were open until 9 p.m. just to give workers a chance to get that medication. So yeah, like then you need to find a pharmacy that has it in stock. You go to one pharmacy, they don't have it. They have half the quantity. You go somewhere else. Like it's a big headache, the whole process. The other thing, if your condition is one of them things where you need to take your medication regularly, at least a week before you run out, you need to notify the pharmacy or the doctor, and then the doctor needs to sign the prescription and then send it to the pharmacy again. So you need to there's always in the back of your mind, okay, I need to remember a week before I run out to ask for a refill. And we're in 2023. Everything's so done. Everything's so efficient. You want food, you got Uber Eats. You want to watch a movie, you got Netflix. But with medication, with healthcare, with primary care, this hasn't been innovated yet. It's still very old school. And how is telehealth and HIMS tackling these problems that we face with traditional healthcare? So with HIMS, go on your phone. There's an app. You download the app. If say you're at work, you're at home, you're on your sofa, you're commuting to work, you could message the doctor from your phone. You could call them if you wish, video call them, whichever you prefer, from the comfort of your own home. And even the CEO, Andrew Dudum, he mentioned appointments will be available 1 hour after signing up, or the same day appointments will be available. Another thing HIMS does, which I love, if you look at the app, they have educational videos on the app. Traditionally, you're given the medication you go home, you're given the medication, you're told to take once a day. You're not told how the medication works, which actually can affect adherence. If you don't know how it works, you're less likely to take it regularly. But HIMS on the app, they have educational videos taking you step by step through the journey of how to treat your conditions, how the medication works, etc. The app is available only in the US right now, so I haven't had a chance to go through it myself, but I have seen screenshots online, and there is a similar concept available on the website. Next thing, the medication is shipped discreetly to your door. Same way Amazon, anything you need is shipped to your door. Same thing, that's what HIMS is offering, and it fits through your letterbox, shipped in a discreet package in case you don't want anyone to know what you're treating. It's just a seamless and efficient experience. And that's how healthcare should be. You shouldn't have to worry about all these other extra things. And automatic refills. So for HIMS and hers, before you run out, you're automatically sent your new batch of medication. So what makes HIMS different from other telehealth players? A lot of people talk about competition, and there are other telehealth players, of course. First thing is, HIMS's platform has integrated doctor consultations, education, and the pharmacy all into one. Traditional telehealth players like Teladoc or Babylon, they just have the doctor's consultation. They don't fill the prescription. You still need to go to a pharmacy to get the medication. That's one thing. Second thing is they're creating a trusted brand. If you look at Andrew Dudum's interviews and podcasts, he mentions putting their other products in retailers like Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and that creates trust, because when you see that product on the shelf and then you see an advert for him treating other prescription related conditions, you're more likely to trust them because you know that company, you've seen it before. Like say for example, you're at a dinner or a party, you're given the option to drink some well-known Coca-Cola or like some generic cheap cola. Which one would you go for? Most likely the Coca-Cola brand, because you're familiar with it. Same way with HIMS. Like I'll give you an example. Other pharmacists will be able to vouch for this. With generic medications, here I've got two different brands of medication. Same medication, Tadalafil, 2.5%. I'm holding it upside down. This is Tiva brand, this is Milfarm brand. As a pharmacist, you'll see once someone takes a specific brand of medication, once someone is used to taking Tiva brand, they will pester and bug you to get only Tiva brand. If they take this one month and then this another month, most patients aren't happy with that. They want to stick with the same brand, especially if it's working for them. Same way with HIMS, if they're taking that HIMS branded of generic medication, they'll likely want to stick with it, especially now that they're adding personalized treatments, this point that I'm about to get to. So, what makes, with this, I think, completely differentiates what HIMS is doing compared to all other telehealth players. They've started combining different medications into one form or different forms. Traditionally, for example, hair loss, minoxidil is given as a topical foam or a spray, and finasteride is given as a tablet. So you have to take two different medications in two different ways. What HIMS done is they created a topical form which contains both ingredients in one. And that was launched in 2021. 2021, they also launched, I've made a video on this, on their dermatology range. So traditionally, you will be prescribed 3-4 different creams with different ingredients, and you have to remember to take each one of those in the morning. What HIMS done, they have a compounding pharmacy. They combine these different creams into one, so you only have to apply a single cream to see the outcome of your treatment plan. Most recently, they came out with chewable Tadalafil. So yeah, this is Tadalafil. They're normal tablets that you have to swallow. They came up with mint flavored chewable prescription grade medication. And what this does is, once you start taking these, what are the chances of you switching back to normal tablets? Once you experience this sort of efficiency and ease and something that tastes good and looks good, like, especially if you're paying a monthly subscription fee, the doctor's fee is covered, medications delivered to your door, what are the chances of you switching back to like normal generic tablets? From my experience, very unlikely. Like, if you're paying monthly subscription fee and you're getting your condition treated, you're more likely to just keep paying that for the efficiency that it gives. Same thing for HERS, they created this custom blend of minoxidil and biotin into these chewable tablets as well. And most recently, this came out a few months ago, they've combined a statin with a ED medication for people who are at high risk of cardiovascular diseases. And this is just the beginning. Like, when you realize HIMS was founded in 2017, so it's still a baby, it's a 6-year-old company, and they've managed to get to the stage already. And this is just the beginning of their personalized treatment offerings. What are they going to be offering 5-10 years down the line? Same way, like, you need to compare it to different companies. I'm not saying it's going to be the next Apple, but Apple initially, they started with the iPod, with the, what's that called? That little music player, I forgot the name of it. Before the iPhone, before the Mac, before the iPad, before the earphone, before the AirPods, before the Apple Watch. Now you need to think about these different companies. What are they offering now? What can they be offering in the future? So now you know a bit about the company, what they do, and how they operate. So how are they performing? Look at this revenue growth. This is quarterly revenue growth. When was this? Q1 2019, they made 16 million in revenue. And as you can see, it's just been up since. It went to 20, 22, 25, 30, 36, 41, 41, 52, 61, 74. And then we switched to Q4 2021, 85 million, 101, 114, 145, 167, 191, and 208. That was their recent quarter. They made 208 million in Q2 2023. And as you can see, most of it is online revenue, and that's the main focus, because remember, wholesale revenue is just to attract customers and bring that and build that branding and trust with consumers. So not only is their business model something that will do very well, in my opinion, as a pharmacist, the revenue also proves that the business model does work. As you can see here, most recently 83% growth year over year. So that was their revenue. Now the subscribers are also increasing quarter over quarter. Most recently, they have 1.3 million subscribers, and HIMS and Hers mostly operate in the US, United States of America. They have recently expanded into the UK, but have limited offerings just for the HIMS side of their products. So there is a lot of room to grow, in my opinion, for their subscribers. Let me move myself for this slide. So we talked about how's the company performing in terms of revenue, subscribers both going up. How about popularity? So this is the App Store. I've been tracking this for a while. If you check my Twitter, or now known as X, I've made a thread on this. When HIMS first launched their app, they were number 172 on the App Store, in the medical section of the App Store. Shortly after, they went to 141 and 91 and 64, 26, 17, number 9, and most recently, someone showed me this on Twitter, number 5 in the medical section of the App Store. Previously I mentioned they were founded in 2017. They've gained this much popularity so quickly. They must be doing something right. So both popularity, revenue, and subscribers are all going the same way, showing that the company is going in one direction, that is up. Let's see. So we saw how the company is performing. What is the stock price doing? Let's have a look. So when I first invested in the company, there were $10. I only put in a small amount, and I watched my investment double. It went from $10 to $24, and I still didn't sell because I knew this company has a long runway ahead of it. This is just the beginning. So even though it was overvalued at this point, I didn't sell. I held on to my shares. And then inflation happened, interest rates started increasing. Even though I'm not a macroeconomic investor, in the short term it can cause stock price fluctuation, and it went from $24 and bled out slowly, and went down to $2.7. At this point, I was working 7 days a week, sometimes 14-hour shifts, because I was like, this is a crazy opportunity. I'm gonna put all my money into HIMS. And that was actually the time where I bought most of my shares. Like, my average is $3.50, and yeah, I had it heavily during that summer, 2022. I won't forget that time. And then I watched my shares go up all the way to $12, and my investment, I had a great return on my investment. And that was in May 2023, so a few months ago. Now it's bled all the way back to 6. But has it bothered me? No, because remember, you have to invest in the long term. Short-term stock price fluctuation is a given. You're going to experience it. My number one advice has helped me a lot. With technology, brokerage apps are available on your phone. Just delete the app from your phone. Log into your desktop or laptop and just have a look at it every couple of months if you want to add new shares, etc. Because that takes away the volatility aspect. You don't know if it's going up or down. You're just looking at the quarterly results. Are they improving the fundamentals every quarter? If they are, then no need to sell. If you see any red flags, then you know that's something to watch out for. Potentially sell or keep a close eye on it. And this brings me to a quote from Benjamin Graham. For those who don't know, Benjamin Graham wrote the book The Intelligent Investor, which is one of the best investing books. And he was actually the teacher of Warren Buffett. He taught Warren Buffett about investing, and arguably, or non-arguably, unanimously, Warren Buffett is the best investor in the world. And what he said was, in the short term, the market is a voting machine, but in the long term, it's a weighing machine. What this means is, in the short term, you'll see stocks get bid up, go up because due to hype, or go down due to unrelated news, macroeconomics, this war happened, this happened, that happened. But in the long term, if the company is improving its fundamentals, is increasing their revenue, increasing their earnings, the bottom line, the stock price will reflect that in the long term. So, is HIMS a once-in-a-decade-like opportunity? Because we saw that the company's metrics are increasing, revenues increasing, popularity, everything. But they're only valued at $1.3 billion, and they're estimated to make $850 million in revenue this year, 2023, which gives them a price-to-sales ratio of 1.84, which is dirt cheap for a company growing this fast with that much high margins. Like, it blows my mind how undervalued this company is. So will HIMS be a multi-bagger? For those who don't know, multi-bagger is a stock that multiplies your money. So a 10-bagger, 10 times your money, 5-bagger, 5 times your money, etc. As I mentioned, full year revenue guidance is 830 to 850 million. And I think management are sandbagging. Every quarter, they've blown away their projections. So I wouldn't be surprised if revenue for full year comes actually higher than this. So as mentioned, the recent quarterly growth was 83%, and if they make this much revenue, they would have grown this much, 58 to 61%. But let's just be conservative here. Let's just say they grow 30% year over year for the next 5 years, which is a huge deceleration in growth from where they're growing now. That would make them have a revenue of 1.1 billion in 2024, 1.4 billion in 25, 1.8 billion in 26, 2.4 billion in 2027, 3.1 billion in 2028, which is in 5 years. Let's just say they have a 20% profit margin, as management have stated. That would give them a bottom line or earnings of 620 million. And how stocks are valued is using the PE ratio. And 20 is a conservative PE ratio, especially for a growth stock. Let's just say in 5 years, they have a price to earnings ratio of 20. How you do that is just times 620 million by 20. That gives you a market cap of 12.4 billion. What are they worth now? 1.3 billion. So the main question is, if they can grow their revenue at 30% year over year for the next 5 years, and also increase that bottom line by cutting back on marketing expenses, you have a multi-bagger, guys. And like 9 to 10 bagger. And this is actually being conservative. That's why I'm so excited about this company. As you can see, my YouTube channel, this is the reason I made it, was to share my knowledge and perspective of why I'm so bullish on this stock. So every company has its risks. What are the risks? Can they maintain revenue growth? Well, as mentioned, these are the categories they're in right now, and they are planning to expand into all these other categories as well. So I think they can maintain their revenue growth, especially because they're just in the US right now. And if they do international expansion into UK, into Europe and Canada, that gives them a much larger total addressable market to keep growing their revenue. Of course, there is a thing of competition, or competition eats into the total addressable market, leaving less of the pie for HIMS. I mean, of course, there is a risk of that. But primary healthcare is a huge sector, huge sector. I think there's room for multiple winners, but HIMS will be one of the top ones in my opinion. I may be wrong. Second question, can they retain subscribers when they cut back on marketing spend? This is a very important question. So most people on Twitter or online who are semi-bearish on HIMS say the marketing spend is too high. They are spending most of what they make on marketing, but that spend on marketing reflects on their growth. They're growing 83% year over year. So if they stop marketing, will their revenue stay the same? Will their subscribers stay? Well, if you look at what the conditions they treat, I think they will stay. For example, if you're treating things like anxiety and depression, you can't all of a sudden just stop it. You can't go cold turkey. Like I've had a conversation, lengthy conversation with a doctor, my brother-in-law, and he mentioned that antidepressants are prescribed very commonly in the UK, I'm sure in America as well. And once you're on it, people are usually on it for a while, at least a few years, potentially even life. So if HIMS cuts back on marketing, people will still need to take these medications. Same with acne, if you use tretinoin or clindamycin or azelaic acid, which I use, and it works. If you stop it and your acne comes back, that's not a good feeling. You would want to keep using these products to treat your condition. Same way with birth control, people usually on birth control for like a month or two. They're usually on it for a few years, unless of course they want to conceive. But HIMS has that covered since they're planning to expand into fertility. Same thing with ED. Once people experience ED, it doesn't usually go away. There's usually an underlying cause for it. It usually increases, the prevalence of it increases with age. And of course, one of the main, I would say, needs of someone is, sexual satisfaction, intercourse, making love. And if once you experience like your ED going away, would you want to go back to that same state of not being able to pleasure your significant other? I don't know. Coming back to revenue growth, like in my pharmacy, menopause, we are making a killing on it. And we're just a small fish. So if HIMS expands into these categories, I'm mostly excited about, I would say, menopause. Testosterone depends what they're getting into because there are quite some regulations on it. Prostate conditions are quite common and you're usually on it for life. Insomnia, again, it depends what they offer because some things are liable to abuse. Weight, I'm excited by. Diabetes and fertility, these things, because they're my bread and butter, I know they will do well. Yeah, that's it guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you at least learned one thing from this video. That will mean a lot to me. Please comment if you want any other video ideas. Thank you.